Hello, everybody. Good morning from Portugal. My name is Sara. I'm partner and lawyer here in Caiado Guerreiro law firm in Portugal. And together with me, I have Mrs. Shafak, Vice President of Optylon Krea. Today, we will speak about the Golden Visa.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Shafak. So, we are already with our audience ready. So, let's start. We will start with a brief presentation about our law firm so that you can be aware of it. We are established in Portugal. The law firm is a traditional law firm covering all the traditional areas, including litigation, corporate, labor law, corporate law, M&A, and in 2013 we created the immigration department that assists foreigners to come to Portugal and their investments here in the Portuguese territory. Our team in the immigration department is composed by 15 lawyers, all of them bilingual, available to assist the clients in the different languages besides Portuguese and English. So in French, for instance, Russian, Mandarin, or Spanish, as well as German and Italian. And we are always available to assist the client 7 days per week at any time with what we can say that is good track record in terms of positive approvals of foreigners before the immigration office, with more than 3,000 cases with success so far. It's important to highlight that the immigration department is only a small part of what we do in the law firm, so we are able to assist the client in a 360 perspective. We are based in Lisbon, it's where you can find our headquarters, but besides that, we also have local offices in Porto in the north and also in Algarve, in Faro in the south. Besides that, we have local representations in Luanda, Maputo, La Valeta, Brazil, and Beijing, where you can find our colleagues to assist our local clients. The law firm has been distinguished by his work, the expertise we have, as well as our availability to assist the clients. So we are recognized by the Chambers and Partners, the Legal 500, as well as by other international directories that ranks the law firms all over the world. Starting in the topic that leads us today here, we will speak about the Golden Visa, the Portuguese program of residency by investment. And today we will speak mostly about the fund option, considering that was one of the options that has the most growth in the last 2 years, especially because of pandemic and all the mobility issues that the pandemic caused. So first of all, what is the Golden Visa? For the ones that are not aware, the Golden Visa is an investment program that is connected with the residency rights in the Portuguese territory. There are different options of immigration to Portugal, but this is a specific one. And why? Because it does not request you to live in Portugal or to relocate definitely to Portugal. It's a program that is created for high net worth individuals that, besides allowing also the family reunification as well as the achievement of the Portuguese citizenship and consequently the European citizenship, it's a program where it's only requested to stay 7 days a year in Portugal. Against what? Against an investment in the Portuguese territory that can be made in fund options or real estate or cultural options or even financial options. So there are 8 options available, but the investor is only requested to do one to have this benefit of having a residency permit that allows him to stay in Portugal for the time he wants, being the minimum 7 days a year, allowing also family reunification. And here we can include spouses, parents, parents-in-law, children, even if they are adult children living abroad, and to benefit from the healthcare, the social protection in Portugal, and the educational system if they want. Important with the residency card that Golden Visa means The investor, as well as the family members, they can travel all around the Schengen area. So it's being used as a Schengen visa, which nowadays, with all the restrictions and all the difficulties in getting appointments for visas in the consulates, it's actually a very good tool. As I mentioned, currently there are different options of investment that are foreseen in the law. The investor is only required to do one for him, and the family will benefit from that investment. In terms of options, there are different options according to different sectors, and each of them has different requirements and different minimum investment values. Just for you to have an idea, we have the financial options that include bank deposits, company incorporations, or the acquisition of participation units in funds. Job creation, which is not a very popular one. Options of investment that are connected with companies, for instance, companies acquisition or companies reinforcement with the creation of job positions. The real estate option, that is one of the most traditional ones. The option where you can invest or you can support activities of artistic output as well as the maintenance of the national heritage, and also research activities in the scientific or technological fields. Today, our main goal is to speak about the fund option. And why the fund option? The fund option was introduced in the law in 2017. It was then regulated in 2018, and since then is growing a lot between the investors. One of the reasons is it's very simple to conclude the process. Is also very less bureaucratic when comparing with other options of investment, and mostly it's something that you can do from abroad without coming to Portugal. Why? It's because you can choose and you have access to all the information when deciding what fund to invest when you are abroad, which is actually more convenient when if you are speaking, for instance, in deciding what is the real estate that you want to invest. So what is important in this option? First of all, the minimum amount of investment. From January 2022, the investment amount raised to 500,000. So in this moment, you have a 500,000 investment that you have to fulfill, which can be in 1, 2, 3, or more funds to diversify if you wish. Also, depending on the minimum amount of investment that each fund requests from you. In total, you need to prove an investment of 500,000 in participation units of Portuguese funds. Very important, only Portuguese funds are eligible. In the qualification of the funds, we can have investment funds and venture capital funds. Mostly important, there are no approved lists of the funds that are eligible for the Golden Visa. So different of what happens, for instance, in the United States, where the EB5 has eligible projects that are predefined, here in Portugal, there are not such lists. So what is important? It's important that you have local advisors that can do the due diligence to the fund and confirm that it's an eligible fund for the Golden Visa. And what makes it eligible for this purpose? First, as mentioned, it needs to be a Portuguese fund, meaning it needs to be incorporated in Portugal and to have a local license that is granted by a public entity. Second, the purpose of the fund must be capitalization of companies, meaning if we are speaking about investing a real estate fund, it's not eligible. Only funds that are dedicated to the capitalization of companies. So that will inject, that will promote, that will support the business activity of such companies. Also relevant, there are no list of the available activities that such companies can perform. No, it's not a criteria that is relevant for this purpose. So in this case, the fund must do capitalization of companies, but the companies can act in any activity of the market in Portugal. So it can be real estate companies, it can be agricultural companies, it can be startups, it can be high tech, it can be blue companies, for instance. Also important, it's the maturity of the investments and the fund. Why? The Golden Visa is designed to be a 5 years program. This means that when we are going to invest, the maturity of the investment and the fund must be of at least 5 years. So it's important to verify what is the period where the fund will be active so that you can fulfill these requirements. And finally, it's important to highlight that although it's necessary to have a Portuguese fund for this purpose, the fund can invest abroad. So the law determines that 60% of the investments made by the fund, they need to be in companies that are headquartered in Portugal. However, the remaining 40% can be made also in Portugal or abroad, in Iberia area or in Europe or out of Europe in United States or China or whatever. So it's important to choose funds that have diversity and also that can give you a very important stability in terms of track records. In terms of steps and timings, just to give a brief idea about the topic, we can divide the Golden Visa application in 4 big steps. The first one is when you choose the option of investment. The second one is when you select and you do the preparation of the capital as well as your personal documents. And a third step where you have the investment itself, and after you can be in conditions to apply for the Golden Visa. What this means that in Portugal, you can only apply for the Golden Visa after you conclude your investment. It's not possible to apply before that. So, in this regard, what is important in the first step when you are choosing the option of investment? It's important to have and to select the legal advisor. It's important to hire the tax representative, which is mandatory in Portugal, as well as important to select a bank to work with. And why? Because the Golden Visa will request you to open a Portuguese bank account here so that you can do your investment through this Portuguese bank account. In the second step, we have what we call the preparation and the due diligence. So your local advisors will confirm the eligibility of your investments. You will have a package of documents that you need to sign, not only regarding the immigration program, but also regarding the onboarding as investor of the fund. You need to prepare the capital transfer to Portugal, to your Portuguese bank account, and you need to prepare your personal documents. So the documents that are needed for purpose of the application on the immigration side, but also on the onboarding as investor for the funds. Then we are in conditions for pursuing this third step, which is the investment. In this case, by investing in a fund, you will have a subscription of the participation units, and we can then obtain the proof of investment. That proof of investment consists in 2 declarations. One from your Portuguese bank, confirming that you have used foreign capital, and another one from the fund manager company that will confirm that you have made your investment and that you have acquired X number of participation units of the selected fund. With this, we are in position to start the Golden Visa application, which is divided in 2 stages, one that is online and another one that is in person. The online stage currently is taking around 4 months. The in-person stage is scheduled when the immigration office gives you the notification by chronologic order of entrance of your process, so that you can come in Portugal, you and your family, to collect all the biometric data needed to produce the cards, so that you can then use it to travel all around Schengen area. The list of documents for the program is not too difficult, and it's very easy to comply and to organize. So we are speaking about the identification document of all the applicants, and then we are speaking about criminal records from the local countries or the residency countries, as well as some proof of family links. So for instance, if the investor is willing to reunify the spouse, we should also present the marriage certificate. If he's willing to reunify a child, a son or a daughter, we just need to prove the birth certificate for this purpose. Important, the immigration program has some fees attached that are charged by the immigration office. So we have a fee that is called the analysis fee, where you have to pay 533 per person when we are going to submit your application so that immigration office can analyze your application. After that, and only after you receive the final approval of your application, you are requested to pay the fee that is used for the card production and to be issued. First card is always valid for 2 years and then renewed for every 2 years. Here you can see some statistics from the program. Since October 2012, that was when the program was released, until December last year. During this period, more than 10,000 residence permits were granted just to investors and 17,000 just to family members. It's important also to highlight the top three of the investments chosen by the clients with regards to real estate, capital transfer, and growing every year the fund option. After 5 years, it's a question that most of the applicants they do. So after 5 years, what options do you have? As mentioned, the golden visa will be granted for 2 years and then it's renewed every 2 years. So in the end of the fifth year, you have the possibility of just continuing with the golden visa, and for that you need to keep your investments, or to decide to apply for the permanent residency or and the citizenship. And what this means that if you keep the golden visa, the requirements are exactly the same for you and for your family. So you can keep it, you keep the investment, and you renew every 2 years. You comply with the 7 days of residency in Portugal every year. If you want the permanent residency, a 5 year card is granted to you. And in this case, you have an additional requirement that is the level of A2 of Portuguese language. It's basic level, so we have A, B, and C, being the A the lowest one. At the same time, you can also apply for Portuguese citizenship for you or for your family. The process here are individual and not per joint family, let's say. Also, for the Portuguese citizenship, there are no special requirements besides the Portuguese language proof of level A2. Also relevant in all the scope of the Golden Visa and Portuguese citizenship is the fact that these programs have no tax implication. And what this means? This means that by having a Golden Visa card, you do not have a tax status unless you want. So, by having a Golden Visa card, you are not requested to declare any taxes in Portugal, neither are you subject to the same rule in case of Portuguese citizenship. So you can be a Portuguese citizen without having to pay taxes in Portugal if you are not living permanently in Portugal. As mentioned, for the Portuguese passport, that is one of the strongest in the world in terms of mobility and scores, as well as security and good reception by the foreign countries. You can apply as soon as you have 5 years of legal residency and the Portuguese level of A2. For the children, if they are not born in Portugal, they can apply as soon as one of the parents can have the citizenship. If they are born in Portugal and you already have a golden visa, in that case, yes, they can be automatically Portuguese if you require so. A summary of why the Portuguese program when comparing to other ones. So we all know that we have the EB5 in the United States, that you have also an investment program in UK and some others in Europe. But why the Portuguese program? When comparing, you will see that the Portuguese program has a scope of family reunification that is very, very large. So you can apply with one investment and include your spouse, your children, even if they're adults, and also your parents and parents-in-law. Besides that, for clients that wish to so, it's possible to do it through a company. So you don't need to do the investment in your personal name. You can do it by incorporating a sole shareholder company and doing the investment through that company. Besides that, for the ones that are choosing, for instance, real estate, it's possible to do it under a promissory agreement before you have the complete acquisition, which is actually very good in case you are choosing an off-plan project. As mentioned, also let's also have here the Portuguese nationality and consequently the European citizenship. The requirement of only staying 7 days in Portugal for you and for your family members. And these are the main topics that distinguish the Portuguese Golden Visa. Important to say for clients and investors that are considering to enter in Europe, the Portuguese Golden Visa can be a door and can be a door and you can maximize your investment with other options. Such options, just to have a quick and brief idea, regards to tax programs where you can be exempted of your foreign income in terms of taxation or be subject to reduced tax rates. It's the NHR program. Besides that, you have here in Portugal very good prices in terms of property square meter, as well as qualified service providers and workers. So, in case you are considering to have a business in Portugal, for company incorporation process, we have very non-bureaucratic systems where you can incorporate the company just in 2 days. With this, you can have also privileged access to renewable energy, green and blue projects in Portugal, the access to the Portuguese markets like Brazil, Africa, or even Macau, besides the European markets. And finally, some innovative programs that Portugal is developing to attract startups like the technological free zones, digital innovation hubs, and European programs and incentives. In Portugal, you will find also some important aspects like the people being very welcoming of the foreigners, Portugal being one of the safest countries in the world, according to Forbes, is one of the best countries to live, to retire, or even just to visit for vacations. The access to the healthcare system, the political stability, and social rights that you can have, and your family also by having a golden visa card, the freedom of expression, the social and very important strong international alliances, the education system that is also very well ranked internationally, and all the history and heritage that for sure will be of value. I will now pass the word to Shafak, and she will explain in detail one a concrete option of investments, the Optylon Krea fund, and also the reason why we think that today is a good day to speak about the Golden Visa program, especially for the Indian market. Shafak, please.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay. As you mentioned, the Golden Visa through the fund route started to be eligible in the late 2017. And that was the time that we thought of such fund. Basically, let me give you a brief explanation through Optylon Krea. It's a merger of a French and a Turkish company. And the fund business was something that we were already doing, but through the institutional investors. So we had the idea, why not taking this product to the retail investors for Golden Visa? Of course, it's smaller, but it's a huge market. So you can see here, we are real estate developers and also investment managers that were now mostly active in Portugal, but we have projects that we completed in Turkey and Romania as well. So you can see the partners here, all background from finance, which is another reason that we thought about this fund option will be very popular and a good alternative who are looking for Golden Visa investment. To focus on the investments, as I told, we started with 2017, and we had the strategy of the first Golden Visa eligible fund. At that time, it was a smaller fund. We always work with the regulated fund managers to make sure everything is, all the checks and balances are in the system. What we do as a fund advisor is we put the investment strategy, and we source the deals according to the strategy to propose to the fund manager for their due diligence. So to speak in general, only last year we have raised more than 76 million euro through 33 different countries. You can see the different countries that we have investors through. Of course, Turkey is the most because it's our home market. But the second market is US. I think this is quite interesting. Specifically started in 2020 when the COVID and the elections were taking place. And US investors are very much fund investors compared to property. And UK, we are seeing an increase. As you have seen, we have Indian investors as well. And Hong Kong was very hot market too. But we are extending these more and more. Now Russia is very interested. We have other countries next to Russia too. So this is, as you can see, quite wide, worldwide option that all the Golden Visa buyers are looking for. So to go in deeper, why fund option is a better option in terms of the investment options that Sarah was mentioning. First of all, it is tax efficient because when you buy a property, there are taxes involved which can come up to 6 and 7% when you're acquiring a property. On the other hand, when you lease that out, the income is taxable at 28%. On the other hand, on the fund option, there is no acquisition cost besides the subscription fee, which is around 1.23%, and the income and capital gain are not taxed. So this is highly regulated through CMBM, capital markets in Portugal. So as I told, we work with regulated fund managers, and the fund managers are regulated by the capital market. It is easy to handle because you don't need to have the maintenance if you buy a property, leasing out, or any type of repairs and all. Most of our investors have several properties around the world and they don't want to have a hassle of another one while they don't need to live in Portugal, because the most attractive thing about Portuguese Golden Visa is that the staying is not required, only 7 days. On the other hand, the other thing that is quite important, when you buy one property, basically you have a more risk if it is rented out or not. But in this case, through the fund, you are investing in a diversified portfolio, which the risk is much lower. I see the questions, but we will come to those ones at the end, if we may.
I will be replying, Shafak, if
Sorry?
needed. I will be doing some replies in the meantime.
Great, thank you so much. Please interrupt me as well if you think if I'm missing a relevant information. So basically, because we have more than 450 investors through 33 countries, maybe we are the team that in touch with the most feeling the pulse of the Golden Visa investor, regardless of their country. So they usually look for not high capital gains, but more capital protection and security. There are a few who's looking for high returns as well. But what we try to do each time we are thinking of a new fund, we try to understand the investors, what they look for, and what is in the market. So when we are in contact with the investors, we provide different options. So you can see here, it's the risk and return graph. As you know, when there's a high return, there is a high risk as well. And when we speak about the VC funds and everything, if they are, of course, startup funds and all, it bears higher risk. But we try to make structures where the capital can be protected so that we have three different options. Actually, this consists of two funds, which are Next and Prima. And in Prima, there are two types of participation units with a different properties, let's say. So the junior part is targeting higher returns, but taking the downside risk. And senior part is very close to the property acquisition, and there is a cap on the loss or the gain, which I will explain further on. So, as we mentioned, these funds are always investing in companies, and the companies can be in different sectors. So, to speak about Next Fund, basically, Next Fund is investing in the companies that are holding commercial properties like high street stores. And the main idea of this is the residential properties in the prime locations increase so much over the 5-6 years time, and there is not a high potential of capital gain. Where in the retail, the high street retail, there is a big potential of arbitrage, and 5 to 6 years time, which you need to be staying invested in a fund, is a good time to capitalize and realize this capital gain. So Next Fund is totally commercial. As mentioned by Sara, the period is 6 years, which can be extended +1 year to accommodate, to make sure all the investors' golden visa process is completed. But the ones who has completed, they can exit after the year 6. And it usually takes a year to receive the golden visa after the investment. So this totally collapses with the golden visa timeline. On the other hand, 60% will be investing in Portugal, and 40% can be investing in Mediterranean Europe to capture opportunistic assets over there as well. On the other hand, if we speak about Prima Fund, Prima will be investing in Prima branded residence development projects through the companies. So it will be a Mediterranean brand that with the amenities, and it will be a chain with the touristic license projects. And the investors there, at the end, they can cash out or they can use their participation units to buy a property at the end, at the exit of the fund term. So to go deeper for comparison, as you can see, both funds are managed by Stack fund managers, and both funds are the flagship funds of Stack as well. So I spoke about the investment focus. In Prima Europe, there is a possibility of using the premises for staying as well when you visit Portugal. The target size in one is 75 million, and today we are around almost coming to 60 million euro. And in Prima Europe, it's higher, but we are at the beginning of it, and we have already raised around 30 million euro. And the target annual dividend of Next is minimum target is 3%. On the other hand, Prima Europe is fixed at 2.5. This is also interesting because, as you may know, I don't know if Sara mentioned, but there had been some changes in the golden visa, and the direct residential acquisition in Lisbon, Porto, and all coast region is not eligible anymore. So basically, you should buy a commercial, or you should go and buy in the interior regions, which is not so attractive for international investors. So in this case, through the Prima Europe Fund, you can investing in this branded residence, and then at the end you can end up with a property as well. So this is quite interesting because the locations of the properties in our pipeline is quite central in Lisbon. We have 5 now. So it is closer to the property buyers as well. When you are buying an off-plan property in direct way, your income starts when the project is finished. But here, the 2.5 is from the day you are investing in for the upcoming years. On the other hand, for the IRR, which means that the total income you will get, the dividends plus the capital gain, is more demanding in next, which can come up to 90-10% because we are expecting a good capital gain at the exit while selling the portfolio. On the other hand, in Prima Europe, it is lower, around 3.5 to 4%. The main reason is that in Prima Europe, the Golden Visa buyers has cap minimum at losing -10 and cap at +10. And the junior ones who are taking the risk are also taking the upside. On the other hand, in Prima, you have 2 options of exit: cashing out or using the participation units to acquire a property that will be presented to the investors during the life of the fund. And you don't need to decide from day one. In the 2 years' time, you can decide how you want to cash out. On the other hand, the subscription fee when you decide to invest in the fund is 1.23%. And another interesting thing, if you want to be more diversified, you can invest in the both funds as well, since next minimum is 200,000 euro and Prima Europe minimum is 150,000 euro. So this was a very fast explanation, but for you to have an idea of these funds. We are happy to go in different one-to-one calls to answer your questions. And one more thing that I want to underline, that we thought with Caiado it's a good time to make a webinar for our Indian potential investors, because we are reaching the year end, and we know that the sending money out of India has a cap of $250,000, and the investors who open the bank account and decide now to move not for a fund or property, but that if they want to take the money out, or if they want
preparing the future application.
Exactly. It's a good time to kick off engaging the lawyers and starting the bank account opening, which can be finalized in 4 to 6 weeks, I believe, so that you can send the money the first bench, and for the upcoming months like April, March, April, you can send the second, which will fulfill the minimum investment. So this was a summary. And let me see some
I think we have here a question in the chat that Şafak, you can answer. It regards to the liquidity of the investment and the exit policy.
Is it the last one? Yes. I would like to understand exactly how the exit process would look like for the fund, and how will you be ensuring liquidity in the portfolio to facilitate exits of the investors? Okay, so let me answer in 2 options, because they are not the same. So in next fund, it will maybe we are going to raise 75 million euro. We can use leverage on the SPV, the company level, so it can go up to 100 million euro, and the investment period will take 2 years. Because there is always a lag between the fundraise and the investment, because there is due diligence and everything. So on the year 3, let's say, we will be fully invested with, let's assume, 60 properties. So this 60 property will be giving, of course, rental income that will be converted into dividends after the fund management cost of 1.6%. And as you know, if you exit during your 5 years golden visa term, you will lose your golden visa in the renewals, because it's 2 plus 1. On the other hand, on year 6, we want to be liquid, meaning that selling the portfolio, because this is more interesting and attractive for the institutional investors like pension funds or insurance companies, to buy a portfolio, not to go and buy one store, because the risk is much lower and they want a size. So the idea is selling the whole portfolio in next and have the capital gain. So on year 6, to be in liquid, to make the investors who needs to exit can be exiting, and who needs to stay in can be staying in till year 8, if their golden visa process took longer time than they wanted. However, if an investor wants to exit before the end term, of course, there is probably will not be a liquidity, that we need to sell his participation units to another buyer. If it's within the first 1-2 years time, as there will be time for 8 years, we can have other golden visa investors. But if not, each year we will have the valuation of the portfolio, so that we will inform our existing and pipeline investors who would like to be investing, and they don't need to transfer only 1%, they can divide and make and reach a wider investor portfolio. So on the other hand, in Prima Europe, as it is going to be investing in the projects, these projects will be also on the market for sales. So this will bring a liquidity to the fund. So they can either convert their participation units to a property and have the title deed, or they will be, if there is a liquidity, they can be exiting the fund. So this is, I think, replying the general question. And the rest, I think you have answered, right?
Yes, I think we have no further questions in the chat. I don't know if someone wants to take the opportunity to add any question. In the meantime, I would only ask Shafak if you can highlight a little bit more about the advantage of investing in a fund when comparing with real estate in terms of taxation, for instance, in terms of the taxes that real estate's involved and the fund is not.
Exactly. Let me go to this slide, and then so in the property option, of course, you are signing first the sales agreement, but when you are having the title deed, always the buyer is paying for the taxes. In some other jurisdiction, it can be divided, but sometimes it's a bad surprise for the investors, and it can come up to 7.2%, which brings you to 40,000 euro additional cost that is not counted for anything. And also, when you are renting out, let's assume you are getting 1,000 euro, but the lease agreement, but you will end up with 780,000 euro because 720,000 euro because 28% is the income tax. On the other hand, on the fund option, there is only additional cost of 1.23%, which is around 6,000 euro, that you have to commit from the beginning to kick off the process, the compliance process. And this compliance process is quite similar with the bank account opening. So Caiado will be helping the investors while they are opening the bank account, the same type of documentation like source of funds, bank letters, proof of residence, proof of professional activity, also for the fund manager for doing their compliance check. So this is 1.23, and each dividend, each year there will be one time after the General Assembly around May, June, they will receive their dividends in their Portuguese bank account. And if they are not Portuguese tax resident, this is not taxed either. And even they are, it is taxed at, I think, 10%. So it is much lower than direct property. At the same thing will be at exit if there is a capital gain. And after they apply for the passport, they can withdraw the investment as well. So they can keep their investment or not. But this is time also for our funds to have, if there's a capital gain and everything. And another thing is like, specifically when Sara said, property is always a sentimental acquisition. You need to come and see where is it looking at, or it's in inland or central location, specifically in a country that you don't know. But the fund option is more on the strategic wise. If you have enough data, if you filter everything, you ask your questions, it is easier to move on with the investment, specifically without coming to Portugal. Anything else, Sara?
Correct. Maybe just to finish, for a client and investor that is considering to invest, how do you see the number of funds that are now investing in the Portuguese market, including international players? How do you expect to be the evolution of the financial market in Portugal for this purpose? And how risky is to invest in the funds in concreting these two options that you show?
Okay, very good question. So when we started this business in 2017, everybody looking at us in the market, these guys are crazy, because it was really thinking out of the box. And at the beginning, it was difficult to educate the market, the players on this, and because they have started. So when we started, we had ours and another two more. The one before, which was Nest, that closed in January, in that time, I think we had 10 to 15. Nowadays, I think because the property route is also having some obstacles with the new rules, everybody is doing the fund. So in the market, I think you can find 40, 50 funds. And we know that CMVM is quite occupied by the new fund applications. But this is important, of course, when it's a fund, as you don't have the title deed and actually you are signing papers that you know there is a capital risk, it is really important who is behind the fund manager, fund advisor, or sponsor. What is their track record? The difficult times when we started is to tell the investors why it's a good option and everything. Now the market is much more elevated, so we are putting our differentiation in our strategies. I in my calls, I don't even speak about why fund option is better than property even. So they are quite, and specifically when US and UK is in the game, the qualification on the financial market is elevated. But what we try here is our carrot today is the golden visa, but we want the investors to make good investments and good money so that we have our performance fee and everything. Because so this is important. When you are seeing the market, a lot of funds, you have to go in detail why they are doing it, what they speak about it. And usually in our funds, we don't speak about golden visa because this is your job. Because we focus on our strategies and why we are doing this. So I think this is quite important. We use this golden visa to enlarge our network because we want to keep their investors investing with us in a longer term. And this is the great carrot to make Indians today, for instance. So it's good that there are a lot of funds. We like it because our strategy or our performance track records is, when compared to them, of course, it is a bit lightening. So we like the market is growing in this segment. And for us, we are, of course, under the golden visa rules and everything, but the underlying asset is property at the end. So it is much more secure than a pure VC fund investing in a startup where you can make 5 times of your money or lose everything. So, and this is the main thing that we structured Prima Senior accordingly, because we, besides our golden visa investors, we have investors all around the world that are investing with us maybe 5, 10, 15 years on the project base, who can take the capital risk to lose the money, but they are looking for very high returns, like 20% IRR. So these investors will be the junior investors having the downside risk. And the seniors, the golden visa buyers, are in between -10 to +10, and they will have 2.5. So this is much more secure than a fund that there is no capital protection. On the other hand, next, we call it as a, here you can say, like there is a measured risk. Because what is the risk? Risk is the commercial property market to go further down, specifically after COVID. So we have seen that the commercial property market went down, and it brought us an acquisition appetite to collect these units. So we don't foresee the market going further down, because Portugal is very low in the commercial assets compared to Spain, Prague, even Greece. And residential prices already catch Barcelona, Madrid level, where the retail is 3 times more expensive there. So we have a great buffer on that. So we call it as a measured risk. So it is really important for the investors' appetite that we can place them according to their risk and return request, let's say.
Perfect. It seems like a very good option and also a very good timing.
Definitely. Here I also write my email address if anyone wants to ask some personal questions. And India before COVID was my last road show. Now we have restarted again. We will be traveling around the world, and I'm really excited when I can go back to India, frankly speaking.
Great. Hope the traveling will restart again soon without any constraints. I think today we can call off our webinar. If there are no further questions in the chat, of course, you are always welcome to send your questions by email for the contacts of the presentation. And we will also share the presentation later today by email to the persons that have registered in the webinar. Shafak, anything else?
Thank you so much and have a great week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
You
Have a
too.
nice week and a safe one.
Bye bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you for attending. Bye bye.